Have you ever wondered why two people can face the same challenge, yet one crumbles while the other grows stronger? It's not luck, it's not fate, it's wiring, the hidden patterns in your brain, and whether you know how to reshape them. Today, we're diving into 5 ways to rewire your mind, blending the precision of modern neuroscience with the timeless discipline of Stoic philosophy. This isn't theory for the bookshelf. These are real tools you can start using today to think clearer, feel calmer, and respond to life with strength instead of stress. Picture this. You're Marcus Aurelius, leading an empire in the middle of a brutal war. Outside your tent, chaos, soldiers shouting, the future uncertain. Inside your mind, unshakable calm. Now, fast forward 2,000 years. A neuroscientist watches a brain scan as weeks of targeted mental training light up the pathways for focus, resilience, and emotional control. 2 worlds, same principle, the ability to retrain the mind. And before we go further, this isn't medical advice. If you're dealing with serious mental health issues, always speak with a qualified professional. This is about empowerment, not replacement. If you stick with me through this video, you'll walk away with 5 science-backed, Stoic-inspired strategies to rewire your thinking so you can take back control of your focus, your mood, and your life. Let's start with the foundation, because if you understand this first, every tool I give you will hit 10 times harder. The philosophy behind the science. Stoicism was born in the bustling markets and turbulent politics of ancient Greece and Rome. And despite the myths, it's not about being emotionless. If it were, we'd all be marble statues, quiet, cold, and collecting dust. Stoicism is about mastery of the self, training your mind to stay steady in storms. Epictetus, once a slave, taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Seneca reminded himself daily that wealth, comfort, and even health could be taken away, so the only true security is inner strength. And Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, filled his meditations with notes to himself about focus, virtue, and staying calm under pressure. At its heart is the dichotomy of control. You control your thoughts, actions, and judgments. Everything else you influence, but you don't control. When you live by that principle, you stop burning mental energy on what you can't change and start investing it where it matters. Now here's where neuroscience steps in. Your brain is not fixed. It's not just the way you are. Neuroplasticity, the ability of your brain to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections, means that with deliberate practice, you can literally change the way you think and feel. Think of your brain like a forest. Every time you think a certain way, you walk the same path. Over time, that path gets clearer, easier to follow, until it becomes your default route. But here's the magic. You can carve new trails. And with repetition, those new trails can become your main roads. Stoicism gives you the map. Neuroscience gives you the tools to walk it.
The psychology of rewiring. Psychologists now know that certain practices, like reframing your thoughts, focusing on gratitude, or training your attention, can shrink the overactive fear center in your brain, the amygdala, and strengthen your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation. In simple terms, less overreacting, more clear thinking. Less, why me? More, here's what I'll do. Take Epictetus again. Born into slavery, injured for life, yet mentally free. He trained himself to focus on what he could control, his mind, and release what he couldn't. Modern studies echo this. When you reframe adversity, your stress hormones drop, and your brain literally starts wiring for resilience. Or think of Malala Yousafzai. Targeted for her beliefs, yet transforming trauma into purpose. That shift in mindset isn't just inspiring, it's measurable. Brain scans in similar recovery cases show increased activity in regions tied to motivation and reward. This is the same principle you can apply, starting now. Your next step. We're about to walk through 5 actionable tools, each one rooted in Stoic wisdom, proven by neuroscience, and simple enough to integrate into daily life. But here's the key. Knowing is not enough. You have to do. If you just listen without acting, it's like buying a gym membership and never setting foot inside. The potential is there, but nothing changes. So as we go through each one, I want you to ask yourself, how can I try this today? Because the moment you apply even one of these consistently, you start rewiring. And once that process begins, momentum takes over. All right, let's get into the first method. Deep dive, the first 2 ways to rewire your mind. Let's start with something you can feel working almost immediately, a practice Marcus Aurelius himself would recognize, and neuroscientists today can measure in an fMRI scanner. Way number 1, the daily dichotomy reflection. Control what you can, release the rest. Here's the truth. Most of us live in a mental tug-of-war with things we cannot control. What your boss thinks of you, whether traffic clears up, what someone posted about you online. That mental friction burns energy, spikes stress hormones, and crowds out clear thinking. The Stoics solved this with what they called the dichotomy of control. Marcus Aurelius would write to himself each morning, sometimes just a sentence, sometimes a page, reminding himself to focus only on what was in his power, his actions, his words, his perspective. Everything else out of his hands. Neuroscience backs this up. When you consciously distinguish between what you can and cannot control, your brain activates the prefrontal cortex, the rational CEO of your mind, and dials down amygdala overactivity. In plain English, you respond smarter, not louder. How to do it. Each morning, grab a notebook. Write 2 quick lists. In my control today. E.g., my effort, my tone of voice, the way I treat people. Not in my control today. E.g., the weather, other people's choices, market swings. Then spend just 3 minutes mentally rehearsing your plan for the first list and letting go of the second. It sounds simple, but do it daily and you're literally reinforcing the neural pathways for focus and emotional resilience. Years ago, I was gunning for a promotion. I obsessed over my competition, imagined worst-case scenarios, and checked my email like it was a slot machine. Stress level? Off the charts. When I finally applied the dichotomy of control, my focus shifted. I doubled down on the one thing in my power, my performance. Within months, I didn't just get the promotion, I got an offer from another company that paid more. Turns out, when you stop fighting battles you can't win, you win more of the ones you can. So let me ask you, what's one thing you'd been trying to control that you could release today?
Way 2, Cognitive Reframing, turning setbacks into stepping stones. If the first practice is about where you place your attention, this one's about how you interpret what you see. Epictetus said it best, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. 2 people can face the exact same event, say a job loss. One spirals into hopelessness. The other sees an opportunity to finally build that business they've been dreaming about. The difference isn't the event, it's the frame. In neuroscience, this is called cognitive reappraisal or reframing. Studies from UCLA show that when you reinterpret a stressful event, your anterior cingulate cortex and dorsolateral prefrontal cortex light up, areas that help you regulate emotions. In turn, your amygdala, the fear alarm, calms down. It's not positive thinking. It's rewiring the brain's threat detection system. Next time you hit a setback, ask yourself these 3 questions. 1. What's another way to see this? 2. What's one hidden benefit or opportunity here? 3. How will I remember this moment a year from now? Then, write down your answers. The act of writing reinforces the new perspective, giving your brain a stronger path to follow. You're stuck in traffic. The old frame, I'm wasting time. This is killing my day. The new frame, this is a pocket of time to listen to that podcast I never finish. It's small, but over time, these micro reframes accumulate like compound interest for your mental state. In 1914, Thomas Edison's entire laboratory burned to the ground. Years of work and millions in today's dollars gone in hours. His reaction? He told his son, "Go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." By morning, he was already planning the rebuild. Within 3 weeks, he had a new product line. That's cognitive reframing at its finest, and it's why Edison's brain was wired for relentless innovation. Athletes do this instinctively. A missed shot, instead of "I failed," it's "I just got real-time feedback." Entrepreneurs do it too. A failed product launch becomes market research. The principle is the same. The faster you reframe, the faster you recover, and the more resilient your brain becomes. So, think about this. When was the last time you turned a setback into a win? And more importantly, how can you make that your default response? Why these first 2 matter. Daily dichotomy reflection and cognitive reframing are like mental bookends. One sets your focus at the start of the day. The other protects your mindset when things go sideways. Combined, they build a kind of mental anti-fragility. Not only do you survive challenges, you get sharper because of them. In neuroscience terms, you're strengthening the neural circuits for clarity, adaptability, and calm. In Stoic terms, you're living in harmony with nature's reality, accepting what is while shaping what can be. But here's the thing. These are just the start. The next 3 will push you further into the territory where real transformation happens. We'll talk about embracing discomfort on purpose, rewiring your brain for gratitude, and using micro moments of mindfulness to anchor your attention like a stoic warrior. Because the truth is, rewiring isn't just about thinking differently, it's about living differently in ways your brain can't ignore. Don't skip the next part, because way number 3 is something 99% of people avoid, but it's the exact thing that builds unshakable mental toughness.
The next 2 ways to rewire your mind. You focused your attention. You've learned to reframe setbacks. Now, it's time to step into the part that most people avoid, the territory where your comfort zone ends and real rewiring begins. This is where Stoic grit meets neuroscience in a way that's impossible to fake. Way number 3, voluntary discomfort, training your brain for resilience. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, had everything: wealth, influence, comfort. And yet, once a month, he would live as if he had nothing. He'd wear rough clothes, eat the simplest food, and sleep on the floor. Why? To remind himself that he could handle less, that comfort was a privilege, not a need. Modern neuroscience gives this practice a new name: stress inoculation. When you choose small, controlled discomforts, you're training your brain to adapt without triggering full-blown panic. You're literally conditioning your amygdala, the brain's alarm bell to stay calm under pressure. Every time you expose yourself to manageable stress, you activate neural pathways that regulate fear responses. Over time, your brain learns, this is uncomfortable, but I can handle it. That rewiring carries over into real-life challenges, whether it's public speaking, a tough conversation, or unexpected change. Start with one voluntary discomfort per week. Keep it safe, but make it real. Take a cold shower. Walk somewhere instead of driving. Skip your phone for the first 2 hours of the day. Eat a plain, simple meal instead of your favorite dish. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about expanding your comfort zone until everyday stress feels lighter. A friend of mine trained for a marathon by running in the rain on purpose. Not because he had to, but because race day might be rainy, and he wanted his brain to register it as normal. When the big day came and the sky opened up, he didn't just cope, he thrived. That's the power of rehearsing discomfort. A modern role model. David Goggins, the ultra-marathon runner and former Navy SEAL, embodies this principle. He deliberately seeks challenges that push him past his limits, not to prove something to others, but to prove something to himself. Neuroscientists studying elite performers have found they often have heightened activity in brain regions linked to persistence because they've trained there. The Stoic version, when you choose difficulty on your own terms, life's surprises lose their sting. So I'll ask you, what's one small discomfort you could choose this week, not to suffer, but to strengthen your mind? Way number 4, gratitude anchoring, rewiring for positivity. Let's switch gears, because while resilience is about facing the hard, joy is about noticing the good, and your brain needs both. The Stoics weren't just warriors of the mind, they were also masters of appreciation. Marcus Aurelius wrote about savoring bread, sleep, and even the simple act of breathing fresh air in the morning. This wasn't poetic fluff, it was strategic. Gratitude shifts your mental baseline, protecting you from the human brain's built-in negativity bias. When you deliberately recall and feel gratitude, your brain boosts serotonin and dopamine, neurotransmitters linked to well-being and motivation. Repeated enough times, gratitude literally reshapes your brain's default mode network, the set of brain regions active when your mind wanders, so it tilts toward optimism instead of anxiety. At night, before bed, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Here's the twist. Don't just list them. Attach a why and a sensory detail. I'm grateful for the conversation I had today with my friend because it reminded me I'm not alone. I can still hear their laugh. I'm grateful for the smell of coffee this morning because it grounded me before a busy day. The why deepens emotional engagement. The sensory detail locks it into memory. During the siege of Leningrad in World War II, food was scarce, winters brutal, and survival uncertain. Yet diaries from survivors often mention small moments of joy, a shared crust of bread, the warmth of sunlight through a frozen window. Those moments weren't trivial. They were lifelines for mental resilience. I had a client who worked in a high-pressure corporate job. Stress was her default setting. When she started nightly gratitude anchoring, she noticed 2 things. She fell asleep faster, and she woke up with less mental noise. Her brain was learning to scan for the good automatically. Why gratitude works with Stoicism? The Stoics taught us to love what we have now, not just what we hope to gain. Gratitude is how you practice that love daily. It's the antidote to the restless mind that always chases more. And here's the best part. Gratitude isn't denial. You're not ignoring life's problems. You're strengthening your brain so you have the capacity to face them. Combining discomfort and gratitude. Here's where the magic happens. When you practice voluntary discomfort, you strip life down to the essentials. When you practice gratitude, you see those essentials as treasures. Together, they create a mental environment that's both tough and joyful, a combination that's hard to shake no matter what life throws at you. Imagine walking into a difficult situation with the inner calm of someone who's trained for the unexpected and the inner warmth of someone who notices every good thing that remains. That's a mind that's not just rewired, it's fortified. In the next section, we'll cover the final and fifth method, one that turns scattered attention into laser focus. And we'll pull it all together into a daily blueprint you can actually follow. Don't miss it, because way number 5 is the one that makes all the others stick.
The final way to rewire your mind. You've learned to focus your attention. You've reframed setbacks into fuel. You've built resilience through voluntary discomfort. You've shifted your baseline toward gratitude. Now we arrive at the final piece, the one that holds all the others together. Because no matter how much wisdom you absorb or how many tools you collect, if your attention is scattered, your brain can't rewire effectively. Way number 5, mindful presence pauses, training attention like a Stoic warrior. The Stoics understood something most people still miss. Life doesn't happen in grand cinematic moments. It happens in tiny slices of now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present," not as a poetic suggestion, but as a command for mental clarity. In modern terms, this is mindfulness, the practice of bringing your awareness fully into the current moment, without dragging in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's anxieties. Mindfulness meditation thickens the insula and prefrontal cortex, areas that regulate self-awareness and emotional control. It also quiets the default mode network, the brain's tendency to wander and replay the past or predict the future. In simple terms, mindfulness trains you to notice your thoughts without becoming your thoughts. You don't need incense, chanting, or a mountain retreat. All you need is 1 minute. Set a timer on your phone to go off 3 times a day. When it does, stop whatever you're doing. Take a slow inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4. In that breath, notice your posture, your surroundings, the texture of the air. That's it. 60 seconds of deliberate presence. Over weeks, these micro-pauses teach your brain to return to center on command, just like a well-trained warrior returning to their stance after a strike. Let's say you're in the middle of a stressful meeting. Your mind is racing, your pulse is climbing, you feel cornered. But you've trained this pause, so you inhale, hold, exhale, anchor yourself in the now. The noise fades, your thinking clears, and you speak from a place of steadiness, not reactivity. That moment could change the course of your career or your relationship. The samurai of feudal Japan practiced mushin, no mind. They trained until they could act without hesitation, but also without emotional turbulence. Though not Stoics by name, they lived the same principle. A sharp mind in the present is a mind that cannot be broken. Why this matters for rewiring? Every time you pause and bring yourself into the present, you're disrupting old neural loops of distraction and stress.
You're building new pathways for focus, patience, and clarity, qualities that amplify every other practice we've covered. Think of it this way. The dichotomy reflection tells you where to focus. Reframing tells you how to see events. Voluntary discomfort strengthens your tolerance for difficulty. Gratitude shifts your baseline toward joy. And mindful presence keeps you in the driver's seat moment by moment. Without presence, the other tools become knowledge without traction. With presence, they become reflexes. Bringing it all together, the daily blueprint. Here's how you can stack these 5 methods into a single powerful day. Morning. 1. Daily dichotomy reflection. 5 minutes to list what's in and out of your control. 2. Gratitude anchor. Jot down one thing you're already thankful for. Midday. 3. Mindful presence pause. Use your phone timer to take that 60-second breath and reset. 4. Cognitive reframing. When something irritating happens, run it through the 3-question reframe. Evening. 5. Voluntary discomfort. End your shower with 30 seconds of cold water or walk outside without your phone for 10 minutes. 6. Gratitude anchor. Again, write 3 detailed gratitudes before bed. This takes less than 30 minutes total across the day, but over time it compounds. You're not just thinking positive or being more disciplined. You're actively rewiring your brain's pathways to default to clarity, resilience, and calm strength. One more thing. Don't expect fireworks after day 1. The changes are subtle at first, like planting seeds. But the consistency is what turns seeds into roots, and roots into something unshakable. A question for you. Imagine yourself a year from now, practicing these 5 habits daily. How would you respond differently to stress? What would your relationships look like? How much more energy would you have for the things that matter? Your brain is waiting for you to give it those new instructions. The moment you start, the rewiring begins. In the final part, we'll wrap all of this into a clear vision, and I'll give you a challenge to start today, so this isn't just another video you nod along to and forget. Stay with me, because the conclusion is where you'll decide whether this becomes theory or transformation.
Conclusion. You've just walked through 5 practices that can reshape your mind from the inside out. 1. Daily dichotomy reflection, directing your focus toward what you can control. 2. Cognitive reframing, turning setbacks into stepping stones. 3. Voluntary discomfort, training resilience on your own terms. 4. Gratitude anchoring, shifting your brain towards joy and possibility. 5. Mindful presence pauses, keeping you in command moment by moment. Individually, they're powerful. Together, they form a mental operating system that's steady under pressure, optimistic under strain, and present in every decision. Why this works, you've learned that Stoic wisdom gives you the principles and neuroscience shows you the mechanics. It's not magic, it's repetition. Every choice you make, every habit you repeat, either strengthens an old neural pathway or builds a new one. The Stoics understood this long before brain scans existed. They trained their minds daily, not because they were weak, but because they knew strength is built, never assumed. And that's your edge. You don't have to wait for life to force you into change. You can start rewiring now before the next challenge arrives. The 30-day Rewire Challenge. Here's my invitation. For the next 30 days, commit to practicing at least one of these 5 methods every single day. Pick the one that speaks to you most right now. If you're overwhelmed, start with daily dichotomy reflection. If you're stuck in negativity, choose gratitude anchoring. If you want to push your limits, go for voluntary discomfort. Write it down. Stick it somewhere you'll see it every day. At the end of 30 days, notice. Are you calmer?
Are you quicker to recover from setbacks? Are you more focused in the moment? You'll be surprised at how much can shift in a single month. A vision for the future you. Picture yourself 1 year from now. Challenges come, but you meet them with steady hands and a clear head. Your relationships are richer because you're fully present, not distracted by what you can't control. You feel lighter, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. That's the real reward here. Not perfection, not unshakable calm 24/7, but a mind that bends without breaking and a spirit that finds meaning in the fight. Your turn. So here's my question. Which of the 5 will you start with today? Drop it in the comments. Your commitment might inspire someone else to begin. And if you found this valuable, give the video a like. That tells YouTube to share it with more people who need it. Subscribe if you want more strategies like this every week. And share it with a friend who's facing a tough season. They might thank you months from now. Remember, you don't need perfect circumstances to start. You don't need anyone's permission to rewire your mind. You just need to decide that today is the day you take back the pen and start writing the story you want to live. Live wisely, train daily, and keep building that unbreakable mind. I'll see you in the next one.